Yo, what's going on guys, Arekkz here, welcome back to another Division video. And in today's video, we are going to be reviewing yet another one of the new gear sets added in the Underground update, and this time that's DeadEYE. This seems to be, at least for my team and I, one of the rarer sets because it took a lot longer to collect all the pieces needed, but for those of you guys that are keen to check it out for yourself, then the main sources are the Dark Zone, both bosses and supply drops, the new Dragon's Nest incursion, and if you're lucky, then higher difficulty underground missions such as Heroic also have a chance to drop it. Either way, I once again want to give a quick shout out to my buddy Zupa. He actually completed his set first and very kindly let me jump onto his account to record the footage needed for this review. Also, speaking of which, I just want to call this out super quickly. The stats you will see in this video are not based on the builds that we run in game. For the purposes of this gear set review, I am using the pieces as they come, so you can completely ignore the numbers and simply focus on what this thing can do and ultimately whether or not it's any good. So if you do enjoy this, then a like would be super appreciated, and be sure to leave a comment down below and let me know your personal thoughts on this set. Now, to begin with, let's start by going over the set bonuses. First up, your 2-piece set bonus is plus 20% marksman rifle critical hit damage. So straight off the bat, it's very clear to see that this set is geared to one weapon archetype and one archetype only, marksman rifles. And while truth be told, marksman rifles usually have relatively low critical hit chance, and as such this is likely never something you consider using as a 2-piece set bonus, the reason this is here is because it goes hand in hand with the 4-piece set bonus, which we'll get to shortly. So moving over to the 3-piece set bonus, you have plus 40% initial bullet stability, which is admittedly a bit of an odd choice given that only applies to the first shot from your gun while it's stationary. In other words, a stability more often associated with something like an M44 or an SRS. However, as you will find out in just a moment, that's a bit of a contradiction given the type of marksman rifle you typically pair with this set. See, the 4-piece set bonus, DeadEYE, makes it so that while not scoped, your critical hit chance on marksman rifles is increased to 100%, but the headshot damage bonus is removed. So to explain that in demonstration, if I bring up my gun, all while I am not scoped in, I have these green lines either side of my reticle. This indicates that the DeadEYE effect is active. Now when I shoot, I will crit 100% of the time, but that crit number will remain the same whether I shoot the target in the head, the chest, the hands, legs, feet, etc. However, if I then scope in, the green lines go away and the gun returns to its normal behaviour, the headshot damage multiplier is back in place, and there is no longer 100% guaranteed crits. So, with that out of the way, the question remains, what is this set's purpose? Well, the design philosophy behind this, or at least what I imagine Massive were thinking when designing this, is that it's designed to be used with fast-firing marksman rifles, something like the M1A, to a certain extent the SVD, and maybe even the lesser-used SCAR-H models. The reason for that is that while not scoped, you're rewarded with 100% crit chance, which means instead of aiming for the head, which is a much smaller target, and at least for console players, a slightly more difficult target to aim for, instead you can simply spam body shots, which are much easier to hit, and in turn much more reliable. And when all of those body shots come out as crits, if you then have skills applied to further enhance your critical hit damage, then there's definitely some interesting potential here. However, that being said, I mentioned it's a little bit lost, and the reason I say that is because if you are someone that has already gone out of their way to spec specifically for marksman rifles, I imagine you'll already be running some sort of sentry variant, then the chances are you'll have a lot of headshot damage, and in turn, the removal of the headshot damage bonus whilst using the skill is actually going to have a huge impact on your overall DPS. And while yes, you could argue that if you're using DeadEYE, you could simply zoom in to reinstate the headshot bonus, if you're going to do that, then you might as well not be using the set. So, admittedly, if you were to look at this side by side with a hugely optimized marksman rifle build, then it would be fair to say that it wouldn't deal as much damage. But that does not mean to say that it's bad. On the contrary, I personally believe that this does have a few select uses, and is actually a little bit better suited to PvP for once, which is a new one for a lot of these gear sets. See, PvE is a lot more predictable, and it's easy to lock an enemy in place, stack reliable headshots, output insane DPS, whereas PvP isn't quite the same. I'd be willing to bet that 99% of your Dark Zone PvP encounters involve tracking someone who rolls around like a madman, and unless you have some sort of MLG aim, I would also be willing to bet that results in a lot of missed shots. And therein lies my reason behind assigning this set more to PvP than PvE. See, while hitting headshots isn't the hardest thing in the world, hitting a headshot on a target rolling around like Sonic is a different ballgame. So what DeadEYE then allows you to do is remove the need to focus on headshots and instead aim for the larger target, namely the body. It also opens up the table for some slightly more inventive, albeit unconventional, marksman rifle talents. While you'll obviously still get benefit out of, say, Deadly for the increased crit damage, you could consider throwing on something like Self-Preserved for better survivability. Self-Preserved heals you on crits, and given that you have a guaranteed crit output, you also have a guaranteed healing source. Admittedly, not as effective as, say, Self-Preserved on a fast-firing SMG, but you see the point that I'm getting at. Also, on the topic of faster-firing weapons, for a very, very long time, the SCAR-H model, which is a marksman rifle, has been overlooked. It pales in comparison to the first wave M1A, the custom M44, and now the SVD. However, were you to throw on an extended magazine, it's very possible to get a mag size upwards of 50, perhaps also throw on something to increase fire rate, and suddenly you have a fast-firing crit weapon that can shoot, say, 50 crit shots back to back, assuming you have 50 plus bullets. However, with all of that said and done, in order to truly make this set work, you would have to build a little bit unconventionally. As mentioned earlier, you typically aim for headshot damage when using marksman rifles, but with this set you'd aim more for crit hit damage, as if you were building for, say, an SMG, and only then would you begin to see value in this set. So in summary, it's a little bit situational, and if you're already spec'd for marksman rifles and already dish out some serious damage, then it's more than likely not worth your time. However, if you spend a fair bit of time, say, doing PvP in the Dark Zone, you might get use out of it, and similarly, if you're not running a vastly optimized build and want to try something different, then again, this is an option. Either way, that's enough from me. That is the DeadEYE set, those are my thoughts on it, and that is where I believe its in-game uses lie. If you guys think otherwise, or you have your own thoughts, by all means, let me know in the comments down below. But for the time being, thank you very much for watching, take it easy, catch you next time, peace out.